Good morning, students. This is the second class for the day, and I'm going to take up an interesting topic for the day. Before that, let us brush up with whatever we have understood till now. You know very well, we have started with the working of simple economy, where by taking three important individual units such as a family farm, a teacher as well as a weaver, how there is scarcity of resources with each and every individual. By making use of these resources, how they could able to produce different goods and services, and how they could able to meet other requirements by keeping a part of the produce with them and the rest by exchanging with the other requirements of them. And we have also understood the three central problems of the economy. They are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. For today, we are taking an interesting topic called as Production Possibility Frontier. Production Possibility Frontier is also a topic which is related with the same problem of scarcity of resources. As we already have understood that every individual faces the problem of scarcity of resources, and he tries to meet his requirement with available resources. Likewise, every economy also are available with limited resources. In reality, the resources that every economy as a whole has is very limited, and how best these resources is to be allocated to produce different goods and services is a challenge. Therefore, in this process of allocation of resources, there are different ways or combinations of goods that can be produced and different mixes of goods that can be produced. So what combination gives the actual result for the economy is a question, and it is a challenge. Therefore, this production possibility frontier gives us an idea relating to what are the different goods and services that can be produced by making use of the limited available of resources. Before understanding production possibility frontier, we have to know what is production possibility set or production possible set. Here I have quoted the meaning of production possibility set, which is nothing but the collection of all possible combinations of the goods and services which can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technological knowledge, and that is what we call it as production possibility set. I repeat, the collection of all possible combination of the goods and services that can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technology is called production possibility set. This can be very well understood with the help of an example which I am going to give you for now. This particular schedule gives us an idea about how the economy can able to produce corn and cotton by using its resources. And this schedule particularly says that if all the resources are used to produce corn, the maximum amount of corn that can be produced is 4 units, and in the similar way, if all the resources are used to produce cotton, the maximum amount of cotton that can be produced is 10 units. In between, there are many other possible combinations. That is, if the economy can produce 1 unit of corn, it can able to produce 9 units of cotton. In the same way, if the economy can produce 2 units of corn, it can able to produce 7 units of cotton. Likewise, if the economy produces 3 units of corn, the cotton can be produced in 4 units. These are the 5 different combination of corn and cotton that can be produced in an economy. That means these are the 5 possible combination of corn and cotton that can be produced by utilizing the given resources. The same can be explained diagrammatically. This can be depicted on a graph diagrammatically, which gives us production possibility frontier. So let us consider this production possibility in the form of a diagram which I have drawn on the board. If you consider this particular diagram, corn is measured along x-axis and cotton is measured along y-axis. And the same schedule is been represented in the form of a diagram. As it is been told and explained in the schedule, if we make use of the available resources completely, fully to produce only cotton, 10 units of cotton can be produced, and if all the resources are used to produce only corn, 4 units of corn can be produced. There are other possible combinations also that we have depicted, and that we have taken in the form of alphabet A, B, C, D and E. And now this particular diagram gives us that combination, and if you look into this particular diagram, it illustrates the various production possibilities of the economy, and various points on the graph, that is on this particular curve, A, B, C, D and E gives the combination of corn and cotton that can be produced by using the available resources. As you know very well, student, if all the resources are used to produce cotton, the maximum amount of cotton that can be produced is 10 units, by then no units of corn can be produced. Same way, if we reduce this 10 units to 9, if we reduce by 1 unit, that 1 unit can be made use to produce corn, and the second combination, that is B, indicates we can able, B in the sense the economy can able to produce 9 units of cotton and 1 unit of corn. The third combination is combination C, indicates the economy can produce 7 units of cotton and 2 units of corn. If it reduces the cotton production by 2 units, that can be made use to produce corn. Further, if the economy reduces to 4 units of cotton, it can produce 3 units of corn. In this way, if the economy produces 4 units of corn, the economy may not able to produce cotton. In this way, these are the 5 possible combination of goods and services, that is corn and cotton, that can be produced in the economy by using its resources fully or completely. Therefore, production possibility frontier gives us the combination of corn and cotton that can be produced in an economy by utilizing its resources fully. And there are other possibilities also which is being explained. Any points under the or below the curve indicates, that is point F indicates some of the resources are underemployed or it is underutilized, and any point above this curve or over this curve indicate, that is Z point indicates overutilization of the available resources and technology, making it non-feasible. This is what about production possibility frontier. Yes, students, we have understood about production possibility frontier with the help of a schedule and a diagram, where we had taken 2 different goods for our example, corn and cotton, and how the economy can make use of its available limited resources and produce different combination of goods and services. For now, we are taking another interesting topic, and that is organization of economic activities. Basic problems of an economy, as we all have understood, what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. These problems can be solved either by free interaction of the individuals in the market depending upon demand and supply, and in other way we can also solve this problem in a planned manner, that is by some central authority or the government. Depending upon this, we are concentrating on 2 different organizations of economic activities, that is centrally planned economy as well as market economy. There is another form of economy or economic system, and that is mixed economy. However, there is a saying that all economies are basically mixed economy, but if an economy has more characteristic features of centrally planned economy, we used to call those economies as centrally planned economy. If more characteristic features of market economy is associated with an economic system, we call that economy as market economy. To give some example, we call China, Vietnam, Cuba, North Korea are as centrally planned economy, and we consider USA and other developed countries as market economy. India, Pakistan and other countries have been recognized as mixed economy. Why I am saying this? Because when you consider a particular economy or like economy of China or US, you get a knowledge that you will make a comparison of whatever the characteristic features or whatever the points I will be relating to either centrally planned economy or market economy. For today's class, we are concentrating on centrally planned economy, which is also called as socialist economy. In a centrally planned economy, this government or central authority takes all important decisions regarding all economic activities. So, all important decisions regarding production, consumption and exchange of goods and services are made by the government. Here, the central authority or the government allocate the resources with the objective to achieve maximum social welfare. You know very well, student, the motto or the objective of a private people or a private sector is always to make more and more profit. A businessman always sees that if I invest 1 lakh, what I would be getting in addition in the form of profit. But as far as government is concerned, their motto, their objective is not profit maximization, rather to achieve maximum social welfare. Maximum social welfare is nothing but how to make or how to keep majority of the people in the economy in a happy, of leading a happy and contentful life. How to make them happy, how to make them to lead a happy and contentful life is nothing but welfare. The objective of a government is always to see that the people of the country should always have a happy and contentful life without any economic problem. Therefore, in such economy, the motto of allocating the resources is to achieve maximum social welfare. For example, let us consider that a good or service is very important for the prosperity and well-being of the society as a whole. For example, education or health. How important health is, you may be knowing, because we all are facing this COVID-19, because of which many activities have been stopped. And education is also equally important, which helps us for achieving a very good future. Therefore, if it is found that education or health is important for the society, and if it is not produced in sufficient amount by the individuals on their own, the government may intervene. In that situation, the government can definitely intervene, that means interfere, and it may induces the individual to produce such goods and services in a sufficient amount, or alternatively the government may itself decide to produce such goods and services. On a different context, we can also say that if some people in the economy are getting a very little share or no share in the final mix of goods and services, let us assume that the goods and services are produced in the economy and that is to be distributed among different sections of the society. Always you can see that there is inequality in the distribution of income and wealth. Some will get little, some will get much. Therefore, when there is such discrimination, who has to take care? It is none other than the government. Even in that situation, the government can interfere and see that they achieve a equitable distribution of goods and services. As I told you, if some sections of the people are not getting equal share, or if they are getting a very little share in the final mix of goods and services, and that their survival is at stake, definitely the government will interfere and see that equitable distribution of such goods and services is made possible. For any economy, there should be more interference of the government, and because there will be inequality in the distribution of goods and services, there will be discrimination in the private sector. It may be with regarding to education or healthcare facilities. Therefore, in that situation, the intervention as well as the active participation of government is so very important. Even today in China, you can see the government is taking much of the decisions, all important decisions with regarding to all important activities in the economy. This is what about the centrally planned economy. Now we are taking some of the questions from whatever we have dealt till now. You can able to answer by your own if you have understood the explanation. As you know very well, from the beginning we have considered the working of a simple economy, central problems of an economy, production possibility, frontier, as well as the centrally planned economy. Based on the topics that we have covered and the introduction we have taken about this first chapter, we are taking some of the important questions. Look at this. The first main of your question paper is associated with a question like this, that is, choose the correct answer. There will be 4 options given to you. You have to choose one appropriate answer from among the 4. The first question that we have to consider for the day is, the scarce resources of an economy have competing usages, single usage, unlimited usage, and none of the above. I started in the beginning quoting Lionel Robbins' definition, saying that the resources are scarce, that is limited. They are not only scarce, but they are having alternative competing usages. Therefore, here comes the answer is competing usages. Your answer should be what? Competing usages. Human wants are unlimited in number and variety, whereas the resources that are available to satisfy these wants are not only limited, but they can be put to alternative competing usages. There arises a problem called as problem of choice. And the second important question that we have to consider is, which of the following is an example of microeconomic study? I told you for this academic year, your syllabus is being divided into 2 different sections, microeconomics and macroeconomics. When we study about individual economic units, about a single consumer or a producer or a production unit, or income of a single person, we call that particular study as microeconomics. And if we consider the whole economy, or if we study all the units combined together, we call it as macroeconomics. There we come across national income, international trade, inflation, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, general price level, etc. So now you can quote by your own. From among these options, which is a microeconomic study, you need to find out. Look at this, national income. I told that when we speak about or when we study about national income, it becomes macroeconomic study, so this cannot be the answer. Then comes consumer behavior. I told you when we study about individual unit like a single consumer, we call it as microeconomic study, and this becomes the answer. Why not unemployment? When we study about the unemployment of the whole economy, that becomes macroeconomic study. When we study about foreign trade, that is nothing but international trade, that becomes macroeconomic study and not micro. So in this question they have particularly asked which is the microeconomic study. The answer will be consumer behavior. Students, let us see the third question for now. Central problems of an economy. I need not give you the options because you know it very well. The 3 central problems of an economy are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So what would be the answer for this? All the above. They have given separately what to produce as the first option, how to produce as the second, and for whom to produce as the third option. But the answer is all the above. So which are the 3 basic or central problems of an economy? What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So the final answer, all the above, is the actual and accurate answer for this question. And the last question from this particular chapter with regarding to choose the correct answer is that traditionally the subject matter of economics has been studied under the following broad branches. I told you that traditionally speaking, the subject matter of economics has been studied under 2 broad branches. One is micro and macroeconomics. Therefore, the answer will be what? Micro and macroeconomics. There are other branches of economics like positive and normative economics, deductive and inductive methods of economics, static and dynamic methods of economics, which is not a traditional one. So, traditionally the subject matter of economics has been studied under two broad branches, those are micro and macroeconomics. We have come to the last part of the day, that is assignment part. As you know very well, whatever the topic we consider, we are going to give assignments questions on that. I am giving you all 3 questions. The first question, what is been written on the board, and it is for 2 marks. Depending upon the explanation given by me, you can write the answer and you have to upload it in the website. Look at the question. What do you mean by production possibility set? When I started with the topic production possibility frontier, I have told you about production possibility set that you have to write in 4 sentences, which is for 2 marks. The rest of the 2 questions what I have written on the board is 4 marks question. You have to answer it in 12 sentences. The second question that I am giving you as an assignment is briefly explain the production possibility frontier, and the last question is write a short note on a centrally planned economy. Students, I believe you all enjoyed this class. Let us take up another interesting topic for the next session. Till then, bye.